अच्छा, इसमें साउंड ऊपर क्या करना है? क्या पूछे आप?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The galaxy of intellectuals, you are excellent. Invited guests, speakers, and dear friends. How different is this morning? Dear audience, you will yourself discover as a part of ancient civilization.
We are gathered here today to witness and experience the lightning joy of knowledge. I welcome the dignitaries who are spending their valuable time with us today, not only for participating, but also for guiding us to a beautiful joy. Thank you, one and all.
I am Anishka, the member of Divi Welfare Society, along with my co-host.
I am Rudra Pratap Singh, Director of IT of the Welfare Society.
I feel privileged to welcome you all on the behalf of Divi Welfare Society with INSTEM Institute Varanasi, International Educators Group, Washington, D.C., supported by Bag and Energy, Research Society, Yog Pranvidya, Learn Quick Zone, and Youth Foundation, to the third session of the 3 days International Conference on Ancient Technology, Ancient Science, Technology, and Civilization.
Well, I would like to quote here Dean William R. Inge once said, "The aim of education is the knowledge, not of fact, but of values." We feel honored to have with us the Honorable Chairperson, His Excellency Professor Gyaneshwar Chaubey is presently Professor of Geology, Molecular Anthropology at Banaras Hindu University. He creates new ideas with young generation scientists. He is National Geographic Explorer. He has experience as senior scientist at Estonian Biocentrism 7 years. Interest in genetics of Indian caste system. It will be my pleasure on his virtual meet, the chairperson of the third session of this conference, Professor Gyaneshwar Chaubey. Please, sir.
I welcome you for the third session and second day talks. There are we had some of the talks very nice and some of the questions they are far excellent. So without wasting any time, we would like to start with Professor S.Y. Kulkarni, who is the first speaker of this session.
Professor S.Y. Kulkarni is a professor of architecture and former head of the Department of Architecture and Planning at Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, from 1977 to 2015. From 1987 to 89, he was a visiting faculty at Department of Architecture of Baghdad Technology and at University of Mosul in Iraq and at Nepal Engineering College, Kathmandu in 1999. After retirement for IITER, he served as professor and dean in the Department of Architecture at the Himgiri University, Dehradun from 2016 to 18. Please, sir.
माझं प्रेझेंटेशन कुठे माझं?
शेअर नाही होतं सांगा त्यांना. शेअर नाही सांगत.
हॅलो.
Yes,
Hello,
sir,
good
you are
morning.
audible.
Hello, good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing. I am unable to.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Done, sir.
अच्छा, done. Okay. मोठं करायला लागलं. Good morning to everybody. Okay. Today my talk is on, I'm an architect essentially, and then so therefore my talk is on space, form and architecture, and through the history, the periods are from primitive to Renaissance. It's a long journey and I have to finish it in 15 minutes. It's a challenge. The focus is on actually the space and form, which is basic to architecture, and how through the history, through the evolution and revolution continuously, how the space and form is progressing in architecture. That is what our interest is. Next slide. Starting with the stone to Neolithic age, that is primitive form, it's very interesting to note how the man has got first sense of space, and the answer is probably from the cave, the personal space. Then space must have some shape to construct. So therefore, he had circle in his mind. Probably millions years before the geometry was discovered, he knew the circle as a form from the sun and the moon. So his first so-called shelter, probably with the natural materials in a very fragile way, is a circular conical shelter which is safest and easy to erect. So these are some of the varieties of it. But after his nomad stage, farming came, and farming made the man very settled. So therefore, a settlement started coming into it. Now, with the increased needs, basic living needs, he had to give that circular form and covered it into a square and rectangular form. Besides his basic needs, he built even megalithic, some absolutely unconceivable forms, and one of the best form is the Stonehenge, which is supposed to be the man-made first architectural monument. It is very large in scale, in fact it's very mega, and still it is serving the kind of a architectural kind of a background with this creation. So all this is instinctive beginning of man for the creation of architecture, which is still basic to the nature and which is integrated with the nature itself. Next, please. Now, Egypt and Mesopotamia, I am considering them together because of their timing. They both are coal civilization, but created entirely two different styles of architecture. Why? We should see now. It is actually, if you see in Egypt, it's a desert with the limestone. They excelled in making its construction, and so therefore built pyramids for their eternity. Large-scale pyramid. Then they built even mega temples with a tribuated style. Tribuated means basically it is column and beams. So Egyptians gave the world the first columns and beam construction as such. Then in the temples, if you see the mega style, the heights of the columns is more than 75 feet. So it's a very huge construction, but still it is absolutely the original form of the buildings. Then in Mesopotamia means actually the civilization developed between two rivers, Euphrates and Tigris. So therefore, the word is Mesopotamia, Mesos and Potamia. So here with the alluvial soil, there is no stone at all. Alluvial soil, because of the marshy land, they invented a brick arch and the bricks, very beautiful bricks. And so therefore their whole architecture is full of bricks with the trabeated construction, the arcuated constructions. Arcuated means construction with arches as a main structural part. Then later on, if you look at these slides, the rooms and the space forms are elongated because of the difficulty in having large span. So therefore, there are linear so-called development spaces and forms in Mesopotamia. But besides that, it's supposed to be Mesopotamia for earliest urbanization. So we have one picture here showing their famous Babylon city with full of the Euphrates rivers, with big buildings and those famous ziggurats equivalent to so-called, though small, equivalent to pyramids as such. Next. Greece. Now here is for the first time in the Western land, the architecture developed. And Greece being the land of geniuses because of the people like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, all with Pythagoras, all those were actually the genius people there. So naturally, the Greece became the fountainhead of knowledge for the so-called the whole Europe, Western land. They invented, even under the monarchy, the democracy. So therefore, their way of thinking became little more democratic for the people, essentially. Then they were perfectionists. So they defined for the first time the classical architecture with certain norms. And the very first one is the system of orders. Here order means a column in architecture. And they are basically 3 orders of the Greek and 2 are added by the then Romans later on. But the famous ones are Doric, Conic, Iconic and Corinthian. It's again a trabeated style like Egypt, but here it is in a human scale. The whole scale is proportion to the human side of the visually and even so-called functionally. Then they even evolved the basic principles of symmetry, balance and harmony and unity of design, which are still the Biblic words of the architecture. They even set the rules of ideal proportions, aesthetics and optical so-called refinements. The refinements come from the marble. Marble is a very unique material for so-called the details and refinements along with sculptures in classical architectural creations. So the Parthenon, this picture is for Parthenon, the very famous building in the world from the Greeks. It is supposed to be the world's perfect building. Its space and form composed around the golden ratio. Then the downstairs, this is another picture which is called Acropolis, which is actually the mountain, and on the mountain this Parthenon and other buildings are grouped into it. If you look at the slope of the building, the mountains, they are built the open air theaters. It's a very beautiful idea, the new idea of that side, that time. So now here is what they are really developed, new buildings which were unknown to the previous so-called the periods. That is all democratic buildings, building for justice, building for commerce, building for assembly, building for gym, sports and drama and etc. So with this we can say that conclude that Greek classical architecture and the space and form are noble simplicity and quiet grandeur as such. So this is the last picture is of the famous ancient Athens city. One can see the urbanization coming up there. Another very important again phrase, particularly the period is Romans. There's a saying that Greek conquered its conquerors, and that is true for Romans. Romans studied Greek architecture in details. Romans' famous architect Vitruvius, he is the first architect who wrote a book, 10 volumes book on architecture, and absolutely cleared it that architecture is with functionality, safety, and beauty. These are the essence of architecture. So Romans with concrete, they have a new material, building material, which is Pozzolana concrete. With hello. I hope everybody is listening.
Yes, sir.
With concrete, the new material, they have revolutionized the whole construction system of the earlier periods. With the concrete, they could make large, huge arch spaces with the brick. And so therefore, the whole architecture is entirely they're different, revolutionary from the earlier periods as such. The first building, most important building of the Romans is their core building.
बढ़िया डॉक्टर हूँ अगर एक पोजीशन बताइए फिर हम बात भी कर ले हाँ जी जी
I think somebody's
Professor Gyaneshwar Chaubey, sir, please mute your mic.
please, because it's getting disturbed, you know. I'm sorry. It's
Please,
okay.
sir, mute your mic. Thank you, sir.
So, उतनी है.
थैंक यू सर
Okay, just a minute.
Thank you very much for this very enlightening lecture. This floor is open for the question. If someone has questions, please.
Sorry,
go ahead.
sir.
Okay.
Talk is going on. Sangatana.
Topic, let me slightly finish it first, little.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir is continuing his slides. Kindly mute your mic, sir. Gyaneshwar Chaubey, sir, kindly mute your mic. The lecture is not over, sir.
So, other great buildings of Romans is a Colosseum, is a world famous. What is happening? Lot of disturbance. Colosseum, the picture is here. It is they built the stadium which can be compared with the modern stadiums, more than 50,000 capacity stadium with full all facilities to the spectators and to the players as such. And they used to have a lot of games. Actually, the Colosseum represents Romans' brilliance and brutality. Romans liked even brutality. A lot of fights between human beings and the animals and beings between human beings itself. They used to suck bloods and kind of things. All those games were the Romans' games. So this stadium represents their personalities. Then another big building is a Thermae, which is in fact can be compared with the modern spa, the 5-star hotels. In fact, with all good facilities, warm waters and other kind of facilities, the sauna. So all these kind of 5-star hotel facilities will be available in this. So that is Thermae, very famous building. And look at this large scale. The scale is very huge, in fact. More than 100 feet height of the buildings and large arches because of the concrete. Another great engineering buildings of the Romans, which is famous in the whole world, is the aqueducts. I hope many people know what aqueduct is, to take water from the real sources to the cities. So Roorkee has a big aqueduct by the Britishers built. So with this, we can conclude Roman architectural space and form are absolutely, compared to Greek, are more daring, complexity, and voluminous in grandeur, essential. That is what we can conclude the Romans. The next is Byzantine. Byzantine again is from the Europe. We are getting into the eastern side. The present city, the Istanbul. Earlier it was Constantinople. Byzantine is famous for one thing in architecture. is that while pantheons, they made the dome with a kind of the hole in the top of the dome structurally, these people have more adventurous thing. They lifted the whole dome and they have made the dome over a square plan. Having a dome on a circular plan is easier because it's all well supported. But having a dome on a square plan, it is quite difficult. It touches only the 4 walls at one point, 4 points only. So the rest of the unsupported point, they made one device called pendentive. There is a system here form which gives you that device, pendentive. And with that pendentive, they were able to support the dome over a square plan. That is called pendentive. The next slide will see this. This is that famous building of Hagia Sophia. It means divine wisdom in Istanbul, present Istanbul, earlier Constantinople. Here is that dome, and you can see the interior. The dome is lifted by 40 windows around for light. It creates a feeling that as if the dome is hanging in the heaven, essentially. And you can see interior, if you see this gold circular arches, and beyond that, the circular arches are meeting with this triangular spherical form that is pendentives, which is supporting the above dome as such. So this is a masterpiece of space and form with the engineering virtuosity and spectacular interiors. So this is what Byzantine is known for. Then Romanesque is of a big period, but basically it is actually founded on the Roman architecture. So what is more important about Romanesque is that there was a huge competition of building churches throughout Europe. Thousands of churches have been designed, and so therefore with expansion, a lot of their requirements were increased. So church was not only a prayer hall, but there are many other things. The baptistry came, one of the rituals of Christianity, and then the monasteries came for the saints and all that. So now Romanesque built churches with group of buildings. And one of the best good example I have with me with a short time is that famous Leaning Tower of Pisa Cathedral. Its grouping is so beautiful that it stands for its grouping in a marvel way in architecture, as a piece of architecture as such, with a white marble facing. So Romanesque is short. Then we come to the Gothic. Gothic is entirely revolutionized in terms of previous Greek and Romans. They discarded Greek and Romans, and with their intelligence, for the first time, to create a space and form, and with the churches with very tall churches, light churches in terms of their weight, and bright with lights, they created new church buildings, and that is because of they have taken a pointed arch, and that's why this architecture is called pointed arch architecture. With the pointed arch, they got the benefit that with the rounded arch, you cannot reach the height without increasing the span. The pointed arch gives you the benefit that without increasing the span, one can increase the height of the churches, essentially. That is what the principle of pointed arch as such. So therefore, they applied pointed arch and created these tall church buildings. Later on, again, another revolutionary idea. For the first time in architecture, the engineers described building like human body, the skeleton and as a bone, skeleton and the skin. So building has been transformed into skeleton with all structural members, and the skin means only covering, enclosing parts. So therefore, they were able to use the walls with a lot of so-called openings for glasses, and so therefore the light came into the church. It says that sometimes in a metaphor that the interior so-called spirituality, they bring it out to the people as such. So that's what the openness of these so-called Gothic churches, with the flying buttresses is one of the attractive so-called element of the Gothic buttresses as such, the Gothic churches. Here is the very famous, I'm sure few years back, this Paris Notre Dame church was burnt. So this is that famous golden example of Gothic period as such, with these flying buttresses. And another iconic thing of the Gothic churches, apart from their tall and light structures, is that rose window with a so-called tinted colored glass, beautiful design buildings. They have become an iconic feature of the Gothic churches. Next is my last topic, but it is essentially a complete renovation of the olden ideas of Greek and Roman. Renaissance again discarded the Gothic, such a beautiful phase. They discarded because of two reasons, probably, if I interpret it properly. One is that the Renaissance architects described Gothic churches as human skeleton only, thin, and so that very ugly as such. That is what the criticism is. But more, I think, specific is that the pointed arch, which they had used predominantly, it became the icon of Islamic architecture in the eastern side of the Islamic architecture. So therefore, they were in search of Christine identity of the churches. So therefore, they discarded pointed arch and they took the Greco-Roman circular arch essentially into it. So therefore, Renaissance architecture is also column and arcuated, composite, but with the circular arches, semicircular arches. And it's a period of awareness. Renaissance also said that it is actually the rising dawn of the modernism. From here, we say that some kind of instinct of modernism coming in because of the lot of literature published, and there were more and more people of the so-called philosophers, thoughtfuls there, and they had new ideas. So in fact, the Renaissance architecture is supposed to be the fusion of Greek-Roman classics with modern era of science and technology. And some of you might be knowing famous architects like Michelangelo is one of the top architects and the so-called sculptor and painter of Renaissance period as such. So with this top portion is actually a church at Florence, city of Florence, and this is the first so-called the dome, the Christine dome, we can say, with identity, and not the Eastern dome of Islamic in so-called architecture of the Europe. Next is the small dome, in fact, gave inspiration to the another example, which I'm going to show it next class, is that famous one. I'm sure many of you must be knowing this building. It's something like Kashi and so-called the Mecca for the Christians. It is the St. Peter's Rome at Vatican City, essentially. It is supposed to be the most matured, complete, with all characteristic, the finest apex example of Renaissance architecture as such. So here, if you look at the building, now here we have seen the domes, with pendentus, but here the dome is with the so-called drum. Another element has been added to increase its height. This total building is more than 480 feet high, essentially, at least 180 feet high total. And if you look at these two circles, it symbolizes, it's called piazza, central piazza of Rome, St. Peter's Rome. This piazza is supposed to be is described like the motherly arms of the church, essentially, for the people. So there's a lot of gathering here at the 25th December in this so-called piazza. And this is what...
Professor Kulkarni, just one
Just the
interruption.
last. Just the last
Uh,
slide.
Your time is over. Please
Uh-huh.
make it very short and
Yeah, yeah,
conclude.
it is just last slide, absolutely. So this is what the dome inside, and you can see the drum essentially. And this is that famous baldacchino, which is so-called 150 feet high, and is very majestic as such. So this is what my slides were. I'll end with this a reminder: history is not a burden on the memory, but an illumination of the soul, by Lord Acton. Thank you so much, sir, for my patience hearing.
Thank you, Professor Kulkarni.
Hello, thank you.
It is so nice to see you face to face after so many years.
Thank you so much, sir.
And you must be enjoying in Houston.
Yes, I'm in Houston. It's now going to be 12:30 soon.
Is there any question
Please.
from anywhere from the audience?
Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
I wanted to ask that how much these structure has been actually influenced with the Indus Valley civilizations. Is there any cultural flow?
Okay, Indus Valley, yes, it's a good question. Essentially, Mesopotamian civilization, if you look at it,
Yes,
with
sir.
their bricks, because even our Indus Valley also is known for mastered in brick making, basically, So
Right.
their architecture. So one can relate many things from Mesopotamian, essentially. First, I hope this satisfies you some of the question, essentially.
Okay,
And
thank you.
and then yes, for simplicity, I can still relate with little Greek, because Greeks were known for this absolutely simple is beautiful, essentially. Everything was proportionate. So even we have a lot of proportionate things in Indus Valley also. Anything more?
Oh, thank you, Professor Kulkarni.
Thank you so much, sir, Jagdish Rai. So much. Thank you.
See you sometime in India.
Yeah. I'll be
Yeah.
there in December. I'll be there in December.
Oh, go. Come to Banaras then.
Yes, I wanted to come because I have opened their architecture department
So,
in IIT.
Professor,
In IIT.
Professor Chaubey is still there. So please take up Professor Chaubey.
Thank you, sir. So it is my huge pleasure to invite Professor Jagdish Rai, the person who is a brain behind this conference. He was working since several months to start the conference. He spoke with many people, and finally we have the opportunity to listen him. I have one important work at 11:30, but I would like to hear to sir. So I'll be very happy if sir should start his presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Now I introduce our sir, Professor Jagdish Rai sir. He earned his PhD degree from BHU Varanasi. He was professor and head of physics department at IIT Roorkee. Later he joined University at Bareilly as a vice chancellor. He has served the Indian Institute of Technology almost 35 years. He has worked in the country of India, USA, Germany, and Canada. He has got several awards, had honor to his credit. It will be my privilege for me to invite Professor Jagdish Rai sir. Please, sir.
Bring the slide on the screen. I will be speaking on the state of science and technology in ancient India. Next slide, please. As you know, it is quite clear the birth of mathematics took place in India, even from the Vedic period. And Indians divide a number system from 0 to 9, and the Arab people called it Hind number because it was from India. From Arab, it went to Europe, and they called it Arabic numbers. Even the say binary numbers were investigated by Pingala, a Vedic scholar in 2nd century BC. He used 0 and 1 or 2 digits for complete description of the number. But the whole world knows that the binary numbers were given by George Boole in France, and therefore the algebra which they produced is known as Boolean algebra. The algebra of the binary numbers was also say given by Aryabhatta, the ancient scholar in 5th to 6th century AD. Next slide, please. And these are certain references which I used. Next. The methodology in India was highly developed. In India, even many 100 years before Jesus Christ, the quality still was made. If one has gone to Delhi, to Qutub Minar, the pillar in Qutub Minar, which we call Asoka pillar, is at least some 2,500 years old and is still not rusted. Nothing is found elsewhere in the world. Metallurgy was so much developed, the swords were made in India, were very popular in Europe, in Arab, and other countries. So, next slide. Next slide, please.
स्लाइड को प्लीज फुल स्क्रीन कर दीजिए.
Say,
Slide is
Banaras-
not moving on the screen.
please.
Slide is not moving on the screen.
Anyhow, I'm continuing. The medicine in India is well known. About 600 years before Christ, there was one Maharshi Sushrut in Banaras. He is the originator of surgery, and he was expert in cataract surgery, and 184 plants he has described and diseases. And he has written in his book, Sursut Samhita, in which disease, which plant is to be used. And still, this is continuing. There was an era, say about some 10 to 20 to 30 years, where people were thinking that Ayurveda is not useful. Now people are coming slowly to Ayurveda, and they are referring all the herbal medicines and herbal things. Similarly, in the say realm of astronomy or astrophysics, you can say, Aryabhatta in 502 AD, he gave the complete description of motion of planets around sun. And he was the first person to say that the orbit of the planet is not necessarily circular. Only first orbit is circular and other orbits are elliptical. That was the first description. And Aryabhatta, after Aryabhatta was about 500 AD. And then in 18th century, Kepler came, and the whole credit of the planetary motion is given to Kepler. Aryabhatta was the person who investigated pi. He was the person who measured the diameter of Earth and circumference of Earth. And say sometime later, I will discuss about what was the technique of measurement by Aryabhatta. And the ratio of the two is nothing but pi that we always use in science and technology. Next slide, please. Then Faraday was a person who gave atomic theory. Not only atomic theory, he talked about the gravitation. He said that everything falls to Earth because Earth attracts them. And then for the atomic theory, we give credit to Dalton, and Dalton was also in 18th century, sorry, from 1766 to 1844. That way, that we people, the whole world knows that the origin of the science was in the West, but actually the origin was in the East, in India. From India, it went to Europe via Arab. One thing, two things opposite happened. When Europeans were developing the science and technology and all the things, in India, opposite things were taking place. The culture were destroyed. University of Nalanda was completely destroyed. The library was burning for 6 months. The whole sky above the library was dark because of the fumes coming out of library. All the professors and students were killed, and those who remained, they fled away to some other state. So the two opposite things were going on. The structures were being destroyed. All the educational institutions were being destroyed, and so on. And that's why the progress which Europe made, we could not make. Now it is we are making. Next slide, please. Next. Next. I have talked about surgery and medicine. Next. Of course, as I have told, the concept of zero was given in India, and Aryabhatta was the first person to give a symbol. And the algebra, the negative number was given, the algebra of the same was also given, and so on. Next slide, please. Say some ancient measurement, as I talked about diameter of Earth, and he gave 1039 yojana, and I have looked into the literature what is yojana, and that I have found that the diameter of the Earth is almost the same, very close to our measured diameter of Earth at the equator. So is with circumference of Earth, and the ratio of the two is pi. Next slide, please. Next. So as with velocity of light, I remember I was a student at Allahabad University. One Rajju Bhaiya, he was the professor, he's known as Professor Rajendra Singh at Banasandhi University. He showed that Adi Shankaracharya has written that light travels 400 yojana in one pulse. For us, it was problem, what is pulse? Then myself and my colleague, we went to the Sanskrit College of Banasandhi University, one professor of Sanskrit, he told us the duration of lightning is a pulse. And we were working on lightning. We were measuring the duration of lightning. Duration is known to us. When we calculated, the velocity of light came out to be the same as the velocity of light we know today. Next slide. Next. Here, I think many people in the audience, they understand interference, diffraction, polarization, and other things. In the beginning, light was treated as a wave, like a ripple wave on the surface of water. And the interference phenomena can be explained very precisely on the basis of wave theory of light. But later, the experiment was made by Albert Einstein around 1900. And in 1905, he published the paper and got the Nobel Prize about the photoelectric effect. When light falls on certain metals like nickel, then electron is emitted. If you treat light as wave, you cannot explain this photoelectric effect. And if you say that light is a particle, you cannot explain interference, diffraction, and polarization. So that was the problem, what actually light is, whether light is a wave or a particle. It was so much that Heisenberg, he was working on the same, and then he completely kept all the journals and books away and took a book on Indian philosophy, and he started reading. Then he found two things. One is Ardhanarishwar, the imagination of a god whose half body is made of man, that of man, and half body is that of woman. Another things, in Indian philosophy, people talk of Dvaitavad. God is one, but at the same time, it can exist in two forms, in form of Atma and Paramatma. Then he thought, when God can exist at the same time in two forms, then why not the light? Later, it was people said that if light behaves like a particle, electron, which is particle, can also behave like a wave, and experiments were performed, and it was found that the electrons really behave like a wave. That brought to us a new technique, a new tool of investigation, what we call quantum mechanics. And with the help of quantum mechanics, we were able to penetrate into the atom, we were able to penetrate into the nucleus, we were able to investigate about the devices, and all the explosion in science and technology that stems from there. And the Indian philosophy has a great impact on the modern science and technology. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much to all of you. Please.
Thank you very much, sir. Your thought-provoking address set a perfect platform to deliver your knowledge. I would like to share a line by Will Durant said, "Civilization exists by geologic consent, subject change without notice."
Now I invite Professor K.P. Singh to talk on unsaid man-made structures.
Professor K.K. Singh was Professor of Civil Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. He also obtained his ME degree from the same institute. He served IIT Roorkee for about 3 decades. Professor K.K. Singh has written several books. His book of science fiction has become very popular. He has many scientific publications to his credit. Sir.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, I want to share the screen. Host has disabled screen sharing, so I'm not able to put up my slides.
Done, sir.
You are
Yeah.
able now.
Okay. I spent 44 years in structural engineering, of which 4 years was in USA and 40 years at Roorkee. And I retired in 2010. So for the last 12 years, I have been leading a totally retired life. My work for 44 years was in modern structures, but I had an interest in ancient structures also. I thank my friend and colleague, Dr. Jagdish Rai, for asking me to talk on ancient man-made structures. This area is vast, so I will speak only on the development of bridges and the sites of Göbekli Tepe and the city of Jericho and Mohenjo-daro and the Kailash temple. Next.
चेक मत देना स्क्रीन इज विजिबल
ये कर दूं।
हाँ जी आप पूछ लीजिएगा स्क्रीन
Can you see the screen? Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes,
Is
sir,
it-
it's visible.
So now the earliest bridges developed from naturally occurring stepping stones in streams or trees fallen across streams. Modern multi-span bridges of the beam type, the truss type, all developed from such simple origins. The ancient Swiss lake dwellers built their homes on wooden platforms on top of wooden poles driven into the lake bed. Their approach path was on top of wooden trestles consisting of vertical poles driven into the lake bed and braced by inclined poles. This type of trestle bridge became popular for lakes and rivers in ancient times. Now, next slide. Now, this is a natural stone arch formed by erosion due to wind and water. Now, the next slide. This is a modern steel arch. The roadway at the top is supported by the curved arch rib, which is the main load-carrying member. This is subjected to a very heavy compressive force and applies heavy horizontal and vertical reactions on the two supports at the ends. These supports have to be rigid to resist the heavy horizontal outward force. Now, this picture shows how to build a stone arch, because the arch rib is curved, so to give it shape, formwork is required, and which is removed later on. Now, these stones can be cut into quadrilateral shapes to fit together perfectly without any mortar, but the masonry above the arch rib, that has to have mortar. Now, if these stones are not cut to fit perfectly, then mortar is used for joining these stones together. This shows the Pont du Gard, an ancient Roman arch bridge of the 2nd century AD in France, and it was an aqueduct as mentioned by Professor Kulkarni. It carries canal water to a place in France. It has multiple arches in 3 stories, as you can see. The Romans prepared mortar with gypsum, lime, and volcanic ash and used saline water. Compared to the present day Portland cement mortar, it had lower strength, took more time to set, and also more time to gain strength, but was far more durable. This bridge has stood for 1,800 years, while the expected life of modern cement mortar is far less. Also, modern manufacture of modern cement produces very high quantities of carbon dioxide and that is a very high carbon footprint. Next slide. Now, this is the Shahi Pul on the river Gomti near Jaunpur, commissioned by Akbar during the 16th century. Some of the spans were destroyed in 1934 by the Nepal earthquake and were restored, and it is still in use. Now, let us see about the development of arch bridges. Arch bridges were developed in Mesopotamia about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. They were copied from arches used in buildings. The Chinese and Romans constructed stone masonry arch bridges from the 3rd century BC onwards. A Chinese arch bridge of the 6th century AD is still in use. It has one span and it is 37.6 meters long. And the bridge was made of stones dressed to fit together without any mortar. So that is why it has lasted so long. The Roman army also constructed a very large number of stone arch bridges, both for roads and for canals. They attached so much importance to bridges that the Roman emperors used to take the title Pontifex Maximus, which means chief bridge engineer. The first book on bridges was published in 1714, and the oldest engineering college for bridges was established in France in 1747. The second oldest engineering college of the world was established at Roorkee in 1847. Next slide. Now, this is a photograph of a suspension bridge. And in ancient times, I'm sorry, there's something wrong. Yes. So ancient suspension bridges were like the one shown in this picture. They consisted of two parallel ropes tied between trees, and the walkway of wood is suspended from these equally spaced suspenders. This bridge functions like an inverted arch, and its main load-carrying ropes are in tension as opposed to the arch rib, which is in compression. It is believed that such bridges were developed in India over 3,000 years ago, but there is no evidence since none of these rope bridges or the wood has been till today. Next slide. Sorry. Now, this is the world's longest arch bridge. It is in Japan. The distance between the two pillars is almost 2 kilometers. And the bridge deck itself is supported by suspenders from the main cables, which are the main load-carrying members, and they transfer the tension to the ends, where they are anchored in heavy anchor blocks, which resist the horizontal pull due to their weight. Now, this is the arch bridge, which was recently inaugurated. It is upstream of Tiri Dam. It was designed by Professor S.K. Agarwal, who retired from IIT Roorkee. I was a member of his team. The design was checked by IIT Kharagpur, and wind tunnel testing was done in Europe. Later, during construction, there was erosion at the site, and so some minor design modifications had to be made. Now, let us see about the historical development of suspension bridges. Monkeys used creepers to go from one tree to the other. This led to development of suspension bridges of the type shown in slide number 9. Later, during the 15th century, a Buddhist monk in Tibet used iron chains instead of ropes. During the 19th century, a very large number of suspension bridges were constructed in USA using wrought iron chains. During the 20th century, height tensile steel cables were developed, which led to very long span present day arch bridges and these, suspension bridges. I would like to say that suspension bridges are structurally more efficient than all other bridges and have a low weight to span ratio as compared to other bridges, and the maximum spans of other bridges are much less. This doesn't mean that at any bridge site, a suspension bridge would be the cheapest or the best alternative. That depends on the individual site. Sorry. Now, this is a photograph of Göbekli Tepe. It is a site, a large site in Turkey. It is the oldest religious monument, which is 11,500 years old, made by oldest religious, I mean the most significant oldest. There may be older religious symbols available, but not on such a large extent. Now, this has circular enclosures and a large number of circular enclosures and rectangular enclosures with megaliths of 1.5 meter height. They have carved motifs. Metal was not available, so the carvings were done by stone, and they show lions, oxes, goats, etc., snakes, insects, and also some figures of human beings from the waist below. There is also a totem pole 1 meter high, which shows 3 animals. Now, these people were hunter-gatherers. They had not domesticated animals. They had not started agriculture. They were eating wild grains and wild animals. So they did not live in that site permanently. They used to wander around, but they had huts there. So after about 1,000 years of existence, the importance of this site reduced, and they probably filled it up with rubble. Now, next is the Jericho city, which where the settlement was there at about 11,000 years ago. And initially they used to live in circular mud huts reinforced with straw. Later on, they made houses of sun-dried mud bricks. So there were some springs in that region, due to which probably agriculture developed and the settlement became permanent. So it was only with the development of agriculture that human beings stopped wandering and started living in cities and villages which developed into cities. So this Jericho, as we know, has the world's oldest protection wall, and it has the second oldest stone tower of the world.
Professor K.K. Singh,
Yes.
you have 5 minutes more, please.
Okay. Now, this is Mohenjo-daro. We all know a lot about it. What is not, it was the best planned city, had excellent sewerages, had an excellent sewerage system. The homes had toilets and baths. So if you compare it with contemporary cities in the Middle East, Egypt, and elsewhere, the planning and architecture was far superior. What is not known is that their language has not been deciphered. There's not much known about their religion, etc. So the Indus Valley civilization has 5 or 6 major cities. Mohenjo-daro is one of them. But there are a total of 1,400 sites, of which one or two are in Afghanistan, some are in Pakistan, over 900 are in India. And these have not been, of these, less than 10% have been only excavated, and that too partially. So I think if the rest of the sites are excavated, more seals may be found. We may be able to decipher the script, learn the language, learn more about the religion and culture of the people. Now, this is the Kailash temple. It was constructed in the 8th century by Rashtrakoot rulers. The remarkable thing is that it is a top-down construction. There was one monolithic rock, and the temple and all the structures were conceived. They started chiseling from the top, removed tons and tons of material, and finally this construction was achieved. So it has two different architectural styles which differ from the normal architectural style adopted in the surrounding caves and also the previous Buddhist architecture. This is probably because the workmen, the styles are from the south. The workmen were brought from the south to work here. Now, unfortunately, we have very limited information on who were the architects, what was the time frame of construction for this. Sites in Egypt, Greece, Italy, etc. are all very well investigated. There is tremendous amount of information available by in terms of names of the kings who did the construction and the time frame that was used in the construction. But unfortunately, in India, we have huge amount of gaps missing, and we need to fill these gaps. Now, next slide. So these are the conclusions. So I feel that this site as Gobekli Tepe, it was only discovered in 1963, and very little investigation has been done and requires far more investigation. Then similarly, I mentioned that the Harappan sites need far more investigation because the language, the script and language, religion, etc., very little is known about them. There are conjectures, people have their theories about the language, about the people, about why the civilization died away, but nothing is established certainly. Now, similarly, in the case of Kailash temple, I think we should, I don't know whether it's possible to get old records or copper plates with inscriptions or stone inscriptions, which will give us the information which is missing. So I tried my best to finish as quickly as possible, and thank you for listening to me patiently.
Any questions, please, from anywhere?
Yeah, Professor K.K. Singh, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you?
Fine, thank you. आप बताइए.
बढ़िया. So, I'm seeing you after a long time.
जी.
I was wondering that this top-down excavate or, chiseling of this temple, Kailash temple or other similar places, you go quite deep into the underground.
Yes.
So how the water flow is maintained? Is there anything known?
I think there must be some drains there. And actually the Indians, the workers there and elsewhere in India had a lot of experience of stone architecture, because this started from Buddhist period itself. And this Kailash temple is copied, is similar to two other temples which are in the south, I had mentioned there. So there must be definitely drainage. I have not visited the area. And then you have the caves where excavation was also done. So I think I have seen a video which shows some drainage also.
Yeah, okay. But from underground, where the drainage will go, maybe probably more underground.
Actually, I don't think it is completely surrounded. There is open. And in the video, I had seen there is a drain, but the person who pointed it out, he was a bit also puzzled where the drain leads to. I think I don't know whether it was in the temple or in some of the caves.
Okay.
So अभी ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन इतनी बारीकी में लोगों ने स्टडी नहीं की है ना, ऑल दीज थिंग्स। आर्किटेक्ट्स का नाम ही नहीं पता है किसने सब, मतलब इट इज अ वेरी ब्रिलियंट प्लानिंग। इफ यू मेक अ सिंगल मिस्टेक in a then the whole thing is ruined, or you make a modification to cover up your mistake.
There is no chance of modification.
So this is an and it wasn't as if they got the knowledge immediately. They had the people had experience of working in the caves and in the Buddhist caves, and the workmen and artisans, they came from Tamil Nadu and other places. They were brought from there. The temple has two different architectural styles. I am not competent to talk about architecture. Professor Kulkarni will tell about that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Very nice lecture.
So is there any other question by any person?
बस एक चीज मैं बोल देता हूँ, ये जैसे मोहनजोदारो, suddenly people can't develop some tremendous planning like this. There were other older cities which had the planning, and the other sites will reveal evidence as how they developed the sewerage systems which used baked clay pipes and all these standardization of weights. They used scales which had the minimum of 1/16 of an inch. Their bricks were standardized. I saw one or two of their bricks in the museum at the Central Building Research Institute at Roorkee. So there has to be a few thousand-year history behind Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, etc. And of course, Harappan civilization started long before that.
Thank you, Professor K.K. Singh. It was so nice to see you face to face after many years. One thing more about Professor K.K. Singh. Recently, I found a few months earlier that Professor K.K. Singh is a good writer. He has written many science fictions and which have become quite popular. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much. लेकिन आपने मेरे से ज्यादा साइंस फिक्शन बुक्स लिखी हैं.
Thank you. Now the next speaker is Brigadier A.P. Singh. He will speak on ancient Indian knowledge system and their relevance today, with an emphasis on architecture. Sir, I have heard about you a lot, but I have never met you and I have not seen you. So it is so nice that we will be seeing you and hearing you. Thank you, sir, very much.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you wholeheartedly to
You are mute. You are mute. I think your mic is on mute. Hello. Your mic is on mute, I think. Hello. Hello. Shall I start? I cannot hear what the MC is saying. Hello. Hello, I cannot hear. Can I start now? Uh, can you hear me or not? I think no sound is coming. I cannot hear anything. Hello. Can you hear me, MC? Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Thank you so much, sir. Sorry
Ah.
for the disturbance. I would like to. Sir, I would like to introduce our next speaker of the day, Brigadier A.P. Singh. Brigadier A.P. Singh is veteran army officer who has served the nation for a few decades. He has intense interest in ancient Indian sculptures. He is a widely traveled person and he authored many books on ancient temple on other monuments of national importance. Please, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, good morning to everyone. At the outset, I'd like to thank Professor Jagdish Rai for inviting me for this conference, which is a great honor for me. The subject I'm speaking on is ancient Indian knowledge systems and their relevance today, with the emphasis on Arthashastra. Actually, I think it was mispronounced as architecture. Now, I'll first like to start with a quote by Albert Einstein, which many have heard. I quote, "We owe a lot to the ancient Indians teaching us how to count, without which most modern scientific discoveries would have been impossible," unquote. Indian civilization, I'm not using any slides, so it is just a lecture a script. Indian civilization has accorded immense importance to knowledge with its amazingly vast body of scriptures, the world's largest collection of manuscripts, its tradition of intellectual texts, thinkers, and schools in so many domains of knowledge. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that according to that knowledge is the great purifier and liberator of the self. India's knowledge tradition is ancient and uninterrupted, like the flow of river Ganga. From the Vedas to Sri Aurobindo and Ram Sarup, knowledge has been at the center of all inquiry. The entire body of organized knowledge actually is divided into two sets in the Mundaka Upanishad. One is Apar Vidya, which is knowledge of the underlying cosmic principle in the metaphysical domain. And the other is the Apar Vidya, knowledge that is secondary, and that is the worldly knowledge and the sciences which we all are talking about. Over time, this knowledge of different domains has been institutionalized into two broad categories. First are the discipline of Vidyas, and the other is the crafts or kalas. And disciplines include fields as diverse as philosophy, architecture, grammar, mathematics, astronomy, metrics, sociology, economy and polity, ethics, geography, logic, military science, weaponry, agriculture, mining, trade and commerce, metallurgy, shipbuilding, medicine, poetics, biology, and veterinary science. So you can see the vast scope which has been covered by our Vidyas. In each of these fields, a series of cumulative texts continues to be available to us today, despite widespread destruction by invaders and losses due to other reasons. Now, these disciplines have been divided into 14 major Vidyas or theoretical disciplines and 64 kalas or crafts or vocational disciplines. So there has been a clear distinction between the theoretical subjects and the vocational subjects. The 4 Vedas, the 4 subsidiary Vedas, that is, first is the Ayurveda, which deals with medicine. The second is Dhanur Veda, which deals with weaponry. Third is the Gandharva Veda, which deals with music. And 4 is Shilpa, which deals with architecture. And the 6 Vedangas comprising of phonetics, grammar, meter, astronomy, ritual, philology formed the 14 Vidyas of sciences in ancient India. So this is the breakup of how these Vidyas, from where they have come from. Actually, the point to be highlighted here is that the constructivist dimension of Indian thought since ancient times till about 600 CE, no other culture or civilization has produced such a wide-ranging, structured system of thought covering all spheres of human existence. And this has led to a generation of vast storehouse of ideas, which have made the Indian mind naturally reflective and ideational. So this is just a background on our knowledge systems from the ancient times. I shall now just delve a bit into the evolution of Dharma Shastras since the ancient times. Now, Dharma Shastra has always been an important aspect of Indian thought since it concerned the well-being of the Rashtra or the state and its subjects. Not surprisingly, it has been included in our oldest scriptures, the Vedas. Athurveda deals with the subject of polity, with subjects like selection, how the selection of a ruler is to be done, duties of the ruler, ideal administration, justice and punishment, about the army, war, victory, etc. These subjects were later expounded in detail by other acharyas from the macro to the micro to ensure that the rule of dharma was followed without deviation. And we should not forget that even the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the first word of Gita is dharma. It starts, the first slok starts with that. There have been many ancient acharyas of politics, amongst which the most famous are Kautilya, Bhishma, and Vidura. And they have always followed the path of real politic over political ideologies. However, the foundation of classical Indian polity was based on definite principles. The specific Vidya dedicated to the discussion of the principles, theories, and experience-based prescriptions of politics and public administration was called Dandaniti. The other 3 Vidyas were Anvikshiki, which is the investigative reflective science. Then you have Trai, which deals with scriptures, and Varta, which deals with the practical aspects of life, that is agriculture, commerce, and other subjects. This 4-fold division of all disciplines is mentioned in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Each of the Vidyas has one or more lineage of masters who have actually created multiple schools of thought, thus preserving, expanding, and proliferating the Indian knowledge systems. And like for Dandaniti, the traditionally celebrated acharyas are Brahaspati, Shukra, Bhishma, Vidura, Narad, Kautilya, to name a few. Now, among the Dandaniti acharyas, one of the foremost considered is Bhishma, whose teachings to Yudhishthira on his deathbed on the battlefield at the instance of Sri Krishna. These cover about 2 of the 18 parvs of Mahabharata, the Shanti Parv and the Anushasan Parv, and form about 20% of the epic. And hence they give an indication of the importance in Vyasa's Mahabharata. These stand out as an exhaustive commentary of assimilating and practicing power, polity, politics, administration, and form the basis of Arth Shastra, which was written centuries later. In addition, the Mahabharata is actually also a storehouse of teachings on statecraft. In this, Narad's expounding on the subject in Yudhishthir's royal court is mentioned in Sabhaparv, and Vidura's discourse on statecraft to Dhritarashtra, who was his half-brother, is mentioned in Udyog Parv and is known as Vidur Niti. Of course, the teachings of Sri Krishna to Arjun throughout Bhagavad Gita, and that explained in Bhishma Parv, contains innumerable lessons for those involved in the exercise of statecraft. There's an important conversation which took place between Sri Krishna and Bhishma on the battlefield, which is worth highlighting. This was when Sri Krishna asked Bhishma to impart knowledge on Dharma Shastras to Yudhishthira. The reply which Bhishma gave to Sri Krishna was that he was the creator and he is the one who knows the Vedas and the Dharma Shastras better than anyone. Then why was he asking him to teach Yudhishthira, and why couldn't Sri Krishna himself teach Yudhishthira? Sri Krishna's reply to this actually should be remembered by all students and teachers. He said that though he is the origin of the Vedas and the Dharma Shastras, its teachings can only be conveyed best by one who practices it rather than the one who created it. And that he, Bhishma, has been a master of practicing this since long, and hence he was best suited to teach someone else. I would like to inform those not familiar with Sanskrit that the meaning of dharma is not restricted to mean religion, as is nowadays often understood, but implies the duties and responsibilities of a person with respect to the time and place he or she is in, and hence they will always keep changing. Now, a word on the traditional knowledge systems. It is now accepted that Western lens are not the sole criteria through which other knowledge systems should be evaluated. The term traditional is often taken to imply primitive or outdated things. However, many traditional sciences and technologies were quite advanced, even by present-day standards, and better adapted to local conditions and needs than their modern alternatives. Laura Nader, the American anthropologist, describes the purpose of studying traditional knowledge systems as, I quote, "The point is to open up people's minds to other ways of looking and questioning, to change knowledge attitudes, to reframe the organization of science, to formulate a way of thinking globally about traditions," unquote. What does United Nations say about traditional knowledge systems? I quote, "Traditional knowledge or local knowledge is a record of human achievement in comprehending the complexities of life and survival in often unfriendly environments. Traditional knowledge, which may be technical, social, organizational, or cultural, was obtained as a part of the great human experiment of survival and development," unquote. Now, modern science actually perhaps dates to Galileo's times, that is around the 16th century. But traditional knowledge systems date since more than 2 million years, when Homo habilis started making tools and interacting with nature. Since the advent of mankind, different peoples have contributed to different branches of science and technology, often in a manner involving interactive contacts across cultures located in different continents. This interactive influence is becoming clearer as the network of global trade and cultural migration across continents is being recognized by researchers. Ancient India was a land of sages and seers, as well as a land of scholars and scientists. Not only in the field of polity and administration, the Indian civilization also had a strong tradition of science and technology. Research has shown that from making the best steel in the world to teaching the world to count, India has actively contributed to the field of science and technology centuries before modern laboratories came into being. Many theories and techniques discovered by ancient Indians have created and strengthened the fundamentals of modern science and technology. However, the vast and significant contributions made by the Indian subcontinent have largely been ignored. The British colonizers could never accept the fact that Indians were highly civilized and scientifically advanced, even in the 3rd millennium BCE, when they were still in a barbarian stage. Such acknowledgement would destroy the civilizing mission of Europe that provided the intellectual justification for colonization. British Indologists studied traditional sciences quietly, only to document them as systems competing with their own and to facilitate the transfer of technology into Britain's industrial revolution. A bit about Arthashastra. Most of us have heard about this magnum opus, and its author Chanakya is a household name in India. Kautilya was the chief minister and the brain behind Chandragupta Maurya, who ruled from 317 to 293 BCE. And he consolidated the Mauryan Empire, leading to the golden age of India. And this strategy helped in uniting the whole Indian subcontinent and sowed the seeds for the concept of Bharat Rashtra, or nationhood. The strategy propounded by Kautilya was Arthashastra, a comprehensive compendium on the art of ruling a kingdom and defeating one's enemies. Within its category, it is one of the most complete works of antiquity in the world. Now, this leads to the question about the extraordinary book's origins. How did it come about? So for this, it is useful to understand the period of intellectual history of India in which Arthashastra was written. Two of India's greatest empires, the Mauryan Empire and the Gupta Empire, originated from Magad. And these empires saw the advancements in ancient India, science, mathematics, astronomy, religion, philosophy, and are considered the golden age of India. It was in this intellectual environment that Kautilya lived and fine-tuned his writings, leading to Arthashastra. The Arthashastra is a vast compendium comprising of 15 books, divided into 150 chapters, 180 sections, and about 6,000 shlokas. Though Arth generally is taken to mean wealth, but Kautilya's meaning encompasses a much wider horizon, that the wealth of a nation comprises of two major components: its territory or land and its subjects. And this book actually considers both administration at the macro level, ranging from statecraft to war and diplomacy, and at the other end, it also carries out micromanagement of the state, which is covered in detail, like revenue sources and taxation, commodity prices and taxes, standardization of weights and measures, organization of the army, and other details. So it is as you can see, it's a huge compendium which covers everything possible to run a nation state. Now, Kautilya was actually a proponent of the realist school of thought, which advised maximizing power through political rather than military means. He believed in real politics and that ends justified the means, a principle followed by nations even today. Great importance was given to internal security, and Kautilya emphasized that threats to national security must be eliminated at any cost, since he reasoned that internal stability was essential for the economic well-being of the state. Now, why is Arthashastra relevant in today's world? Kautilya's treatise in many ways reflects the complexity of the present world. Dr. R.P. Kangle, who has written a commentary on Arthashastra in his book Kautilya's Arthashastras, mentions, I quote, "We still have the same distrust of one nation by another, the same pursuit of its interest by every nation tempered only by considerations of expediency, the same effort to secure alliances with the same disregard of them in self-interest," unquote. Now, there was a very famous German Indologist, Heinrich Zimmer. He actually describes Arthashastra very aptly. I quote, "One feels inclined to bestow new and deep respect on the genius who at that early period recognized and elucidated the basic forces and situations that were to remain perennial in the human political field. The same style of Indian thought that invented the game of chess grasped with profound insight the rules of this larger game of power," unquote. So it is unimaginable that the struggle for supremacy and rivalry between nations will ever end. And hence, the teachings of Arthashastra, which are based on the basic tenets of human behavior, will never become superfluous. In conclusion, China's contribution to the global knowledge is widely acknowledged. Arab scholars have ensured the important role played by Islamic countries is also common knowledge around the world. However, in this case, many discoveries made in ancient India are often depicted as being of Arab origin, though the Arabs only retransmitted to Europe what they had learnt in India. Even in post-independence, such distortion of facts continues to prevail. To a large extent, India's intellectual elite continues to promote pre-colonial India as a feudalistic, superstitious, irrational, and lacking in scientific temper. A major reason for this notion is India's flawed education system, which has subverted the projection of ancient Indian knowledge and scientific achievements in its curricula. And hence, as one will see in most presentations, hardly any Indian examples are quoted by anyone in any forum. And most of the examples which we use continue to be those taken from the West, though the greatness of India in various fields is now well known to all. With that, I'd like to thank you all, and I come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brigadier A.P. Singh, for giving such a nice talk. And it was so informative. So please come sometime to Banaras.
Definitely.
This is my invitation to you. Anytime you may come, and you will be my guest.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dr. Hina Fatima Ali. हमारी आवाज कैसे जाएगी?
Good morning, sir.
Dr. Miss Hina Fatima Ali is well-known architect. She had done the research work on the energy conservation in ancient building like Jama Masjid in Delhi. She holds PhD degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Presently, she is working in Qatar. We feel delighted to have with us. Please, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Actually, my screen is at hold from your side, so I can't share my screen right now.
Okay. It's there, ma'am. Please.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for such a nice introduction. I'm happy and privileged to showcase my work in front of distinguished personalities who have worked for so many years in the field of research. Thank you so much to Professor Jagdish Rai sir for giving me this opportunity. The topic of my presentation is Vernacular Ancient Indian Architecture, a Paradigm for Energy Conservation. Yeah. So energy conservation is a concept to control consumption of energy while providing basic thermal comfort requirements to the occupants of a building, depending on the region where the building is located. The measures are taken to reduce heating, cooling, and ventilation demands, reduce usage of artificial lighting, lower energy consumption by appliances, lower energy demand for heating water. And this would lead to contribution in increment of national energy security, improvement in working productivity, improvement in air quality, occupants' health, decrement in pollution, reduction in fossil fuel dependency. So the famous architect and planner of Chandigarh city in 1927 said that a house is a machine to live in, replying to which Egyptian architect Hassan Fateh in 1986 said that the machine is independent of its environment, is little affected by climate and not at all by society. So the kind of buildings we are going to discuss ahead are the ones which form relationship with surrounding nature and also work on its own. So before starting the discussion on ancient buildings and why we are again talking about the architecture of building designed a very long time ago, we need to understand the evolution of building in India. So in late 20th century, the globalization concept was introduced. We saw a dilution of ancient vernacular architecture, such as moving from low-rise to high-rise buildings, use of new materials like steel and glass to meet international standards. Then in early 21st century, globalization brought consumerism and new technologies such as centrally air conditioning system came into India. Then in present time, after facing the impact of insensitive active features in buildings, measures are taken to go back from where we started for sustainable development, that is to study the ancient architecture, which has legacy to create climate responsive designs known for energy conservation, uses passive building strategies and are time tested. So ancient buildings follow passive design system, which accept surroundings without resisting. So they are designed on the basis of climate of the region, which is divided into two parts, macroclimate and microclimate. And so the microclimate is the one which covers a large area and is average weather pattern for a long term. Buildings behave differently under different types of climate, and they should be designed according to the microclimatic condition of the region. Whereas the microclimate covers a smaller region, an architect can control macroclimate of a region by properly designing the microclimate. It is desirable that there is a sync between the macro and microclimate. Now we'll be discussing about the architectural elements in ancient buildings which can modify microclimate. First is orientation. Analyzing the sun's movement path and predominant wind flow direction, a building is oriented to gain benefits. On the right-hand side of the slide, a built-unbuilt plan of Jaisalmer's city is shown. Dust storm is one of the major problems faced here. So the designer oriented the city at right angle to the storm's direction, which is an example of climate responsive planning. Additionally, the streets are organic, random, narrow, and open in a large area, helping in movement and circulation of air. When one stands in any of the chalks, can experience the higher airflow coming from the narrow street. On the left bottom side, I have shown image of narrow street opening in a large area. So next is building envelope. A building envelope is a barrier between surrounding environment and indoor conditions. An envelope is formed of solid wall, windows, skylights, doors, etc., and protects the occupants from outside conditions. A typical street plan of Jaisalmer city is shown, and we can see that it is a very tight cluster planning, compact envelope with small opening to restrict direct solar radiation. The shared, as we can see, the shared side walls and only one wall exposed to the sun help in minimizing the heat gain. Similarly, the small openings on the honeycomb facade of Hawa Mahal, as we can see in the picture, makes it a natural cooling system. The Jharoka balconies were originally developed for ladies of royal families so that they can have a view of the bazaar in front without anyone from the street looking at them. So the structure has lattice window or the jali openings with 953 perforations in facade. The air crossing these small openings flow at higher rate to the room. Next is building massing. So it defines the shape, size, and form of a building. It dictates the height, depth, void, solid, green to hard surface ratios of a building, depending on the cooling or heating requirement. It helps in regulating temperature and heat flow. The pictures on the slide are from different cities in India: Varanasi, Pushkar, Old Delhi, Jaisalmer. So these places are from far from each other, but the clustered planning feature is common in all. We can see multiple terraces, if you can see that here, multiple terraces, play of high and low terraces, punctures such as courtyards. So these features create deep shadows and help in reducing heat gain. The other examples are like the large niches in the huge Taj Mahal structures or the multi-terraces of Panch Mahal in Fatehpur Sikri. They also work in the same manner. Then solar shading devices. It is the architectural element crucial for indoor lighting and controlling indoor temperature. Daylighting for a building's indoor activities is very important, but to avoid glare and direct solar gain, shading device measures are taken. Sketch on the slide, the middle one, we can shows the projecting chhajja create a deep shadow on the street. An original image of the street is also shown on the slide. Similarly, the projections used in Mazar of Fatehpur Sikri and the temple at Khajuraho also help in controlling solar gain. The Jharoka in Diwan Haveli in Rajasthan also work in the same manner. The Jalis, as already discussed, also control direct gain. The arch veranda at Agra Fort are also one of the features to create shadows. Now the carvings on the Madurai temple or the Red Fort and the calligraphy we can see on the Qutub Minar, they actually create shadows in daytime, and at night, due to the increased surface area, there is a higher rate of convective loss from the surface than any flat surface. So this is how they are benefiting the thermal comfort. So it is fascinating to see that how these structures of different era and different architectural style all had the same vision to create climate responsive building designs, and they successfully did so. Then Trombe wall, they are the low cost solution for meeting heating or cooling demands of a building, as can be seen in figures A and B. Heavy walls or the Trombe walls were used in ancient times. and they could be around 1 to 1.5 meter of thickness or more. And currently we have 0.23 meter of thickness walls, brick walls, which we are using these days. Then to maintain thermal comfort during daytime, Trombe wall store heat when outside temperature is high, and then at night releases the heat to the room when outside temperature is low. Height of the building also play an important role in thermal comfort. The ancient structures had room height more than 3 meter, which is prevalent. 3 meter is prevalent today, but earlier it was around 5 to 6 meter or more. This helped in collecting hot air above and then is moved out easily through ventilators. So with globalization and new developing technologies or techniques, huge glass and steel high-rise buildings came in picture. They became a tourist attraction and even helped in booming economies of few countries. But these are not homogeneously designed and hence are not climatically responsive structures for the region where they are located. So material also plays a major role in designing. Use of indigenous materials in future design as done in ancient buildings can help because they are eco-friendly, CO2 neutral, cost efficient, enhances thermal comfort, reduces energy consumption, reduces embodied energy because of easy procurement, and transportation cost is less, and they promote homogeneous architecture. So nowadays, designers are also need to be encouraged to use plant-based materials such as bamboo, because India is the second largest bamboo producer. So we should take inspiration from the structures which are shown on this slide, so that we can work for a sustainable future in building design. So after identifying the climate responsive architectural elements of ancient buildings, a literature study on the work done so far on ancient buildings was carried, and only 3 buildings in world have been studied so far, details of which I'm sharing here. So first is the Tibetan house built in alpine climate. So the house is oriented towards south direction. Multiple terraces are there to receive maximum solar radiation. Stone wall of 0.6 meter to 1 meter thickness for thermal insulation is used. South has more openings, and room height is around 2.5 to 3 meters for uniform distribution of heat. And locally available materials are used like stone, timber, and earth. And to enhance thermal insulation, cement mortar and wooden boards were used. Corridors and toilets are overhanging to provide better ventilation. Overhanging corridors are also used as sun space. Then the second building is a 100-year-old residential building in Iran, where there is humid and hot climate. So it is oriented towards the predominant breeze and along the east-west direction facing south. 0.7 meter thick brick wall act as a Trombe wall here. Roofs are made of stone, timber, mud and clay. Walls and roof surface are light in color to reduce heat gain. Gangways are there to avoid direct sun. Heat generating spaces were separated to avoid heat gain. Height of building is 4 meter, helping to draw out hot air. Small lowered windows restrict hot air, and colored window glasses, deep terraces and balconies helping shading rooms. Then the third building are actually from Mughal era. At the first is Fatehpur Sikri and the second is Red Fort. So here vegetation played important role by because of transpiration, water bodies, add the moisture in the hot and dry air. Courtyard and veranda act as buffering zone. Again, decorative carving, creating shadows, help in increasing convective heat loss at night. One portion of dome is always shaded, so they help in controlling heat gain. Thick wall is acting as an insulation. Courtyard help in better air circulation. Tapered small windows force the wind from outside to enter. So here an interesting fact about how a visionary in ancient time changed the lives of so many people around. King Bhoja of Parmara dynasty designed network of lakes and water tunnels in water deprived region of Bhopal. This solved the drinking problem of the area by 40%, reduced temperature by 1 degree Celsius, and is home for 150 species of fauna and 700 flora species now. So my conclusions are that energy conservation for a building is a familiar concept on which there is considerable amount of work done. Ancient building is an amalgamation of aesthetic functionality and preservation. Even today, architects take inspiration from them, and they hold true to current needs of building design because they are cost efficient and reduce carbon emissions. There are more than 170 ancient structures present in capital of India, New Delhi, and over 3,500 important ancient monuments in India recognized under ASI. Still, there are no energy and economic performance analysis of these buildings are to be found. And few structures outside India have been studied, but again, the numerical investigation are not there. So to encourage this work is an attempt to encourage researchers to study and perform numerical investigations on ancient structures and incorporate these features to design future state-of-the-art buildings. So I'm very grateful to my Professor G.N. Tiwari for his support and guidance throughout. These are the references. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hina. Thank you very much. I was examiner of the PhD thesis of Hina Fatima Ali. She has done excellent work about the energy conservation in ancient buildings like Jama Masjid, and the work has been appreciated by everybody. So thank you very much. And yesterday, I came to know from Professor S.Y. Kulkarni that you have done your M.Arch degree from IIT Roorkee. And say, I have long association with IIT Roorkee, and it was so nice to listen it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, please. Yeah, any question?
Yes, I have a very nice lecture. I want to ask one question, well, information actually.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that on many buildings there are engraved structures.
Yes.
And these help because the surface area increases. So this helps in cooling the building faster.
Yeah.
And is there any technical study on this, how fast this cools, or there is some, scientifically done analysis, scientific analysis?
No, if we are talking about the engravings or the calligraphy or the sculptures made, so no, there are no studies for that. So this is the one problem which we are facing, that we should start we should revisit these structures and start studying it. It is very much required now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question, please? Thank you all very much. Now this session is over. From 2:30 onward today, we have this session in which our South African colleague will be giving the talk from South Africa. I think seven or eight speakers are from South Africa. And then in the evening today, we have another session from 6:30. Is it okay? 6:30. Then there will be many people, and I see here was Professor Suryanarayan Gautam. Now he has left the meeting. He is a excellent Sanskrit scholar, and he will deliver his talk on ancient Indian civilization. So I thank you all, and please come here for the conference at 2:30 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Last but not the least, I thank you fellow students for enthusiastically arranging this event. Without you, this event would not be success. Thank you, my buddies. I quoted some line for buddies. Anything is possible when you have the right people there to support you. Now, thank you.